This podcast is supported by patrons. You can find a full list of them in the description of this episode.
Hello, listeners and viewers of Good Morning BSS World podcast. Here it's time for Africa. And when I mention Africa, you should already probably know that my special guest today is Rod Jones, connecting to us from South Africa directly. Hi, Rod, how are you?
Hi, Wiktor. Great to be with you once again here from Johannesburg, South Africa. And as we're getting into the early stages of winter, we still have lots of sunshine and it's nice weather.
And we are getting into the beginning of the summertime, in Poland now.
Excellent. Well, as you know, I was in Germany last week in the spring, so I got to experience some of that wonderful weather.
Yeah, you are a very frequent traveler, and besides the fact that you are traveling all across Africa, now it was time to go to another edition of the CxOutsourcers, this time to Munich, Germany. And as far as I know, there was a time also to talk about Africa during that meeting, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed. I was very privileged, and the organizer, Peter Ryan and Mark Angus and Tracy Freeman, gave me a short slot to get up on stage and to share the Africa Federation story with the audience. About 120 people, CX executives and BPO executives from all over the world, and many of whom you and I both know personally. So it was somewhat like an industry family reunion.
Yeah, that's very much true. I missed this year's CxOutsourcers, which I am really, really very sorry for. But sometimes it happens that other duties stop us in the places where we are. But I have booked the mark that next year CxO goes to first time to Canada.
Correct, and I'll be planning to be there as well, so I wouldn't miss it.
So now there will be time to talk about Africa in Canada. But this is still next year. Now it's time for the 2025. And Africa is quite present when it comes to talks about BPOs and ITOs in Germany. I am going to Berlin next week, actually, for the event organized by GIZ, where there will be over 20 BPO African companies presenting what do they do on a daily basis and how they can support, for example, European businesses. So you were last week in Munich. I will be in Berlin next week.
Excellent. Well, you'll be meeting with some of my colleagues from the Federation at that event. I was actually invited to join as well, but due to other commitments, I was unable to do so.
So now there will be even more people who know you and know me, so we will have more common friends.
Excellent.
But now it's time to focus a little bit more on this, what has happened within the last weeks. And this what we have mentioned just before pressing the record button today. You said you have some hot news directly after the meeting of the Federation. So what are those hot news?
Okay. As I mentioned, yesterday afternoon we had our monthly SteerCo or steering committee meeting with the regional representatives of the Africa Federation of GBS associations. And I'll give you the feedback on it on a region by region basis. But we're very pleased to be able to say we now have 9 full member countries. They comply with all of the requirements for the Federation. And we have 7 candidate countries that we are mentoring, nurturing, and assisting to get up to level of administration, governance issues, etc. So I have a vision or target to, by the end of 2025, to have 20 member countries represented on the Africa Federation.
So it's counting up every month.
Indeed, yes. And I think what has become self-evident now is that as an organization, one of the fundamental principles and the objectives is to share knowledge, share information. And this is really happening, particularly not only through our monthly liaison meetings, but the SteerCo members are sharing information between themselves literally on a day-to-day basis. And I can just imagine by the end of the year to have 20 national bodies coordinating knowledge, information, best practice. And so it's really showing that the model that we envisaged almost 20 years ago is reaching fruition now. So very excited about that.
Sounds very, very, very good. So let's go into those regions. So if we can have some update from you.
Yes, I did make some notes after the Steerco yesterday, so I'll do it by region by region. So the Southern Africa region, which includes South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and will soon include Botswana, Namibia, and Mauritius. They are some of our candidate countries, is represented by the CEO of BPSA, which is the national body for South Africa, Mrs. Reshni Singh. And so Reshni reported back yesterday that the fourth phase of the government incentive program to support the BPO sector, which is now 16 years, the government has been supporting the sector, that is imminently to be released. So we all wait in anticipation as to see how those incentives are going to impact. There's a refreshed South African value proposition, which has been a product of nearly 3 months or 4 months of hard work. That will be released also within the next 10 days or so. It's going through its final refinements. And I think it's just a point we make to all of the countries that are within our federation is the value proposition of a country and the country study and the demographic study in the context of BPO is really, really important. And I think this is one of the reasons why the South African sector, BPO sector, has grown, is there's always been high levels of professionalism in presenting the business case and the value proposition. The bad news for South Africa of this week is that, as many of the listeners and viewers will know, the Ryan Strategic Advisory Omnibus Survey, which comes out every year, based on interviews with essentially BPO buyers, ranks countries in terms of favorability. And it was in 2021 that South Africa was in the first place. And sadly, we are now in the third place, and we are now tied. We are tied with Poland, neck and neck.
Yeah. I just had to interrupt you because third place is a great place, and seeing our two countries on the same level, I would say I treat it like a really good information. But of course, dropping from number 1 to number 3 may taste not as good as tasting going up number by number, but still, this is the third preferred location worldwide.
Correct. And I think, it's been a bit of a wake-up call. We anticipated sliding into a lower position because it's become self-evident with the deployment of AI and more advanced technologies and a very definite trend towards digital engagements. South Africa has lagged behind in that space. We know that. And it's no wonder that India beat us to it. But there's massive investments going into digital skills development in South Africa right now. And we anticipate over the next 2 to 3 years, those investments in skills development will start manifesting. Once again, it's a lesson hard learned that we would like to share with the BPO community worldwide, is focus a lot of energy on digital skills, because this can make or break a BPO region. So yes, there's a lot of activity happening in that space. Some of our international BPOs are starting to grow quite nicely. So we're sitting close to 200,000 FTEs at the moment, so good news. Also from the southern region, Namibia, we've had several sessions with an interest group based in Namibia, and we are in the first stages of forming a formal association. I had a webinar also yesterday with the new BPO Association of Zimbabwe, which has been formed in the last month. There's a chairman in place, there's a committee in place, a secretariat has been appointed. We anticipate seeing a website in the not too distant future, and so strong investment interest and very much active engagement in AI from the tech sector. So Zimbabwe forging ahead. Then East Africa. East Africa, the SteerCo member for that is a young gentleman from Ethiopia, Von Wiesensweli, and he reported back that they're hosting an eTech Expo in May. Huge government and international support. There's a program called Digital Ethiopia, which is the policy framework of the government, and it's based largely on some of the lessons we've learned with these frameworks elsewhere in Africa. Also coming out of the East African region is the new Outsourcing Association of Kenya, which is just been launched in the last 3 or 4 weeks, with strong support from some of the major players like CCI, Sama, Cloud Factory, Teleperformance, who are backing the new association. So we're looking forward to having a lot of activity there. The official launch of the new association expected towards the end of May. There's also a value proposition documentation coming together. I've seen some of the drafts of that. So I think Kenya is poised to become a major player in the whole African landscape. Another philanthropic organization, the Gatsby Foundation, is very active in Kenya and is working with the policymakers on a national basis. So that's our East African region. In the Central Africa, which is the Central African region for us, is based in Rwanda. Lovely lady Chantal is our SteerCo member there. So Uganda now has a national BPO policy coming out of government that is been formulated. It has a framework for investments and attracting FDI, and very close to the GIZ team that you'll be engaging with, I'm sure, in Berlin next week. So once again, growth coming from 2 new entries into the Rwandese environment, which is Teleperformance and Zimworks, which has been very active in Zimbabwe and Zambia, is now close to opening a new site in Rwanda as well. Then our good friends from Genesis Analytics, Mark Angus and team, are currently conducting a national benchmarking study in Rwanda, which will be input into the value proposition and will assist Rwanda attracting greater investment and participation. Rwanda, the GBS project in Rwanda, as you know, is continuing support from GIZ and MasterCard Foundation, and there's roadshows planned by Rwanda in the next few months. They'll be going into the Netherlands, a visit to Luxembourg, and then across to the US. So Rwanda is very active in reaching out into the source markets. West Africa, represented by the dynamic Ms. Amal Hassan, who's done some amazing work in Nigeria. She's the force behind forming and continue to drive it's known as the Outsource to Nigeria initiative. Strong government support and investments in there, so state backing. I'm just looking at some notes here. So BPO and GBS has been flagged as a core focus for digital investment right across the various provinces within Nigeria. Let's just look at some of the other notes here. Work Nation platform, which you might have come across, which is a work readiness platform, a work seekers platform, already has nearly 1 million candidates on it, and that is being spread outside of Nigeria, right across the central and eastern region. So the platform looks to be a major player in bridging the gap between candidates seeking work in the industry and matching them with operators. So a lot of activity in there. And then in North Africa, represented by Rolana Rushwain, who you'll meet in Berlin next week. She was with us at the CxO in Munich as well. We're very pleased as the Federation that Rolana has been invited to give the opening keynote at your event next week, to be speaking about the Africa Federation, our goals, our mission, our ambitions, our capabilities, and also presenting some very up-to-date statistics and research data around the industry across Africa. So Rolana will be there doing that, and also reporting on the North Africa region. Morocco, we're nurturing a new association there, but there are new tech hubs opening up, and in the BPO space there, KPMG is very active there, opening a new site. Arrow Technologies, a tech support site also in Morocco. And again, the government is aware of and starting to show a lot more attention towards our sector, and hopefully we'll get some formal recognition there and local funding. Believe it or not, Tunisia is now starting to take on BPO work. There's no formal association yet, but Rolana and her team are assisting, nurturing, and mentoring. I think there are 3 BPO operators in Tunisia that will soon come online as a candidate member of the Federation. And then in Egypt, there's a new AI strategy being launched by government, and Microsoft has put a huge investments into training with funding for 100,000 youth to be trained in digital and AI skills. So that's a massive initiative. And other growth coming from Intellica and Capgemini, both expanding and scaling up their operations there. So that's the feedback from the various regions. We call it, the Federation on the Rise, and that was at last week's CxOutsourcers Mindshare in Munich. The message was clear. We were saying, Africa is emerging, and one of the statistics that was put out there at the conference, that I think it's by year 2050, 50% of the world's workforce will be located in Africa. And this is willing, able, and capable. And so I think the time is now right for the Federation to bring together the resources, the lessons learned, the best practices. A major point, which again I must reiterate, that came through from the CxOutsourcers last week, and which is a fundamental pillar of the Federation, is the drive for ethical impact sourcing. It's take underprivileged communities, not just youth, but unemployed, any persons, groups, women particularly. We want more coming into the industry, refugees. So a lot of focus. There was a huge support in Munich with the CxOutsourcers community to support impact sourcing. So watch this space. We also hosted, under the auspices of the Federation, 3 weeks ago, our first in our series of webinars, and this was focusing on impact sourcing. And so I will send you the links, and viewers and listeners are most welcome to follow that link and find out how impact sourcing is being rolled out in Africa. So thank you again for the opportunity to share the knowledge and the information about Africa. And we're always thrilled to do this, because every month we seem to have more and more activity, and it really is wonderful to watch it developing.
Yeah, thank you very much. And this is actually how I treat it from my side as well. Every month you bring a lot of new insights coming from more and more destinations, which are now appearing on the Africa's BPO map. And now this Tunisia is very much probably focused on the French destination, supporting the CX services to the French market, but not all only. They are quite well recognized from Europe already, so it's good that something is happening over there. I have taken here down some notes, and one of those notes is about this value proposition processes which are being run in various countries, which you have mentioned today, like in Kenya or in South Africa, now renewed in 10 days, if I put my note in here properly.
Correct.
So I am already looking forward to our call next month. So we will probably have some updates what in this value proposition actually will be hidden. So we will see, but it's really a good insight which I got from you today. And this ethical impact sourcing, as far as I remember, this is already the third year in a row when this topic is being discussed during the CxOutsourcers event, and it looks like it's increasing its priority on the talks, which is very important. But this, what you have surprised me today, is that by 2050, 50% of workforce working for CX will be in Africa.
Well, I think if my memory serves me correct, it's 50% of the global workforce across all industries. Across all industries. And, we look at different figures and projections for Africa, but, the 2030 target, when we set out 2 years ago, was 1 million new jobs in BPO.
I don't remember.
And I think the way things are going, I think that's a conservative figure. Several of the major international BPO operators have indicated they are looking to move work out of India, out of Philippines, closer to follow the sun to service European market. And also looking for opportunities to be first movers into African territories. So we're very excited about that.
Many numbers, Rod, today. Many numbers. Another one is those 1 million candidates on the platform where people are seeking for the job. 100,000 people on training by Microsoft in Egypt. Many numbers you have given us today within the show. Rod, thank you very much for absolutely excellent update of what's happening in the BPO industry in continent of Africa. If I will collect those news as I do collect them by now, I will probably be able to print a book at the end of the year with all of the details which you are sharing with us.
Well, we can certainly help bulk that book up as well with information. So thank you once again for the privilege and the opportunity to share this knowledge.
Thank you, Rod, again. Thank you very much, and looking forward to our next call.
Thank you.